The longer a marriage lasts, the longer you can go without sex.
Marriage is never ending. Oh, Jim, have you thought this through?
You hooked up with one other girl. You're like a blind man picking out his favorite porno.
Michelle, will you marry me?
Yes.
We get to have a bachelor party.
Back away from the animal.
American Wedding, rated R, at theaters August 1st.
Welcome back to another episode of Front Row Cinema, a movie podcast for movie lovers by movie lovers. I am your host, TJ Trimboli, and with me, as always, is my co-host. We got Mr. Belvedere himself in the house tonight, Mr. James O'Reilly.
Hi.
Hi. Thank you for being with us, Mr. Belvedere. And each week we take a look at my 1,000 movies we've seen in theaters and see how well it's aged, along with the hype surrounding the film, its box office analysis, and legacy in the film industry. So if you enjoy this kind of content, hit that sub button on YouTube, leave that 5-star review on Apple and Spotify. It's how you help the channel grow. Jim, what are we watching tonight?
We're watching, just a movie that we desperately needed some resolution to a certain two characters' relationship. So we're watching American Wedding, where they get married.
That's right. The finished comedy trilogy, the 2003 comedy, directed by Jesse Dillon, written by Adam Hertz, and starring Jason Biggs, Allison Hannigan, and Sean William Scott. Now we touched upon this a little bit last week when we were queuing up this movie, but I wanted to ask you more specifically while we were doing this now. Were you a big American Pie guy? Did you watch all the movies? Did you watch any of the spin-offs? Like, how deep into the American Pie lore did you get into back in the day?
I made it about as deep as finding out there was so many movies, and then that's it. I just turned right around and stepped out of the water, and I was done. Because it's so stupid.
That's right. There are a ridiculous amount of spin-offs. Like, I want to click on it and actually see just how many spin-offs they managed to do of American Pie. So it looks like we've got 5, Jim. So in 2005, they dumped on us, of course, what you were going to queue up if you're going to do a spin-off. American Pie presents Bandcamp.
Yeah,
sure.
Bandcamp one.
Why not?
Then Mile, right? Isn't that?
Yeah, dude, they put one out every year. Like, what are they? The MCU? 2006, American Pie, The Naked Mile. 2007, Beta House. 2009, The Book of Love. And then they put a little bit of a break on there. And then in the year of our Lord COVID-19, 2020, they gave us American Pie Presents Girls Rules.
Wow. And now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think up until maybe that last one, Eugene Levy's in every single one of those, right? I think he's like the only recurring character
in all the spinoffs. That would make sense. Let's see. Yep. So he's in the Book of Love. He is in Beta House. Is he in this one, The Naked Mile? I don't see him. Nope, he's there. So yeah, yep, and he's in Bandcamp. So yeah, he's pretty much in all of them. Did he? And unfortunately, 2020's Girls Rule is the only one to not feature Eugene Levy. What a loss for them.
I'm pretty sure whoever they were trying to get to watch that movie in 2020 has no idea who Eugene Levy is.
No, they probably would, because by 2020 is really when Schitt's Creek becomes a huge sensation.
Oh, yeah, so he's just too big for it now.
Yeah, which is what a thing to say. Eugene Levy, too big for the American franchise. We were there for you when you weren't in the big time, Eugene, and you're going to leave us in the dust.
He was always a little too good for it, in my opinion. But
I would say he was always too good for the spin-offs. There was no need for him to sully himself with those direct-to-DVD spin-offs. I would say he was perfect for the main series, though, because this is he's perfect to be the dad in these movies.
Yeah, I mean you're not wrong. He does fit in really well.
Yeah. All right. So you were a main series type of guy. I was the same way. I never bothered.
Ever saw the second one, honestly.
Even to this day?
I don't think so. No.
Interesting. I feel like you had to have, because we watched those a bunch when we were kids, and I feel like you had to have been around.
Maybe. I couldn't tell you what it's about at all. I have no
All right, so
idea.
maybe not then. It just slipped from the pantheon of knowledge that one can possess as they go on in life. But we got the DVD cover here, Jim, because of course we do. We got to have our American Pie franchise here. No blurbs on there, but the movie does include both the unrated and theatrical versions, which was always such a funny thing for comedy movies. Was we're going to put out the DVD, we're going to have the unrated version. The unrated version is going to be maybe 30 seconds longer than the theatrical cut. It's going
Right.
to
It's the
one
same
joke we
exact
couldn't have.
movie.
Yeah.
There's
Uh,
just one scene that isn't even like controversial in any way that we
Yeah.
just didn't put in the cut originally, so technically this is not rated.
So we can get some outrageous unrated editions. You don't see that very much on streaming, but we also don't really see big gross out comedies really anymore. Like when was the last big sex comedy that came out? Streaming or
I'm not really
otherwise?
sure, but like, is any straight to streaming movie rated technically?
I mean, I guess
Like, they
technically,
don't have to be unless they're getting a theater release, right?
yeah, I don't think so, but I think do they still have rate? Now I'm like questioning my whole existence. Do they have ratings still on the movies on Netflix? I never bother to look.
I think that a direct to streaming movie, unless they were releasing it in theaters, I would be pretty surprised if they were getting it rated because I can't imagine what the point is.
That's true. Yeah, because if you just have your streaming site and you can just have the parents figure out a parental lock or whatnot, what's
Right,
the
you're
point
just
of a
putting it
rating?
on your streaming site. You're not like, I don't know, it's not the same as like a release of a movie, I don't think.
Yeah, interesting. Wow. Now I'm gonna have to do my due diligence after this and go through my Netflix catalog and see if I could see if there's ratings on there.
I mean, I don't think they put like ratings like on the movies you're saying, like when you're like browsing.
Yeah. Which is there. So that's like a big thing that we don't see anymore now, especially when it comes to comedies, is you had your theatrical and then, we can get the unrated after that to try and get a bit more buzz going after the movie came out, which is another thing that I feel like is so tied into DVD sales. We talk so much about losing that extra oomph from the DVD sale. Like the unrated comedy DVD sale probably was such a good marketing tool to try and get people to buy the movie again after seeing the theatrical version.
Yeah, because it's like, oh man, the unrated American Pie has gotta be better, right?
Yeah,
Like
they're like, what
it's
what could they
just gotta
possibly
be.
what could they possibly have thrown in there that like was not good enough for theaters? It was too crass.
Oh yeah, so I'm looking, they do. I'm on HBO Max right now. Everything
Okay.
does have a rating. I
All
just
right.
never paid attention to the fact that it's even there.
Yeah, it's probably like in like the top left corner, like so like right next to like the runtime, but you never even think to look there when you're like scrolling through your movies.
Yeah, a lot of them seem to have the TV ratings though, not necessarily like R or
Or something.
PG-13.
Which would make sense because I guess since it's a streaming site and it's technically watching it on your TV, I guess they follow more of the TV format guidelines for ratings than they would like a movie rating
Yeah, and I mean there is movie ones for like things that I definitely know came out in theaters,
in
but
theaters. Well, they probably still follow that guideline, but I guess for their like original movies that they're putting directly onto the streamer, they probably follow the TV guides
that's
more
what
than
I
they
would
do.
guess, yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Interesting.
Just in
Interesting.
case you were wondering, Guys Grocery Games, TVG. It's for general audiences. Everybody can get in on Triple G.
Good to know. Good to know. There we go. But so we turn our attention to the back of this lovely DVD here for our log line, and it reads: The American Pie Gang returns to wreak havoc with a new rite of passage where Jim and Michelle decide to get married. They had to put an exclamation after that. Of course, Stifler will be there, and more importantly, we'll throw the ultimate bachelor party. Parentheses, strippers, parentheses. So RSVP for the outrageous American wedding experience, the third chapter of the hilariously hot, frantically funny, and unforgettable American Pie saga. A lot of interesting thoughts in there. If it's only three movies at this point, can it be considered a saga?
I think they know where this is headed. You know what I mean? Like I think they understand what they're all about at this point.
They in their like whiteboard room or like Kevin Feige where they have like the next 10 years of American Pie movies up on the board.
Yeah. It's like you ever see A Quiet Place? Like Jim Halpert's like stupid whiteboard that he has in the basement that's like noise question mark.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
it's like that. It's like that. Like there's just a whole like whiteboard and it's like Marriage? Like,
That's amazing. It just is a huge thing. And at the end for American Pie, it just has Bandcamp with a question mark. All roads lead to Bandcamp.
yeah, exactly. There you go. Exactly.
Oh, that's funny. I also love like all the random spots that they had to put like an exclamation point in there. Very, very outrageous. And then also like, cause you put decided to get married, huge, big exclamation point. But then when Stifler's throwing a bachelor party, they just in parentheses and all lowercase strippers. We did stripper, not don't get excited about strippers. Like no,
Yeah.
no
I
exclamation
mean,
point
that
there
was like easily the worst part of the movie, though, right? Like, I wouldn't want to tell anybody about it either.
about the strippers either.
Yeah.
Amazing. Now was this a first time watch for you, or have you seen
Yeah, I've
evidence of
never
this
seen
one
this
before?
before.
You never seen this one either. Oh man. So all right. So if you don't remember two either, and this is the first one, you would probably only seen. Did you watch the first one back when we were kids?
I saw the first one, yeah. The only thing I remember about this movie is the scene when like, uh, he's like beating the towel out the window, like after he shaves.
Yeah, and everybody
Like that's
catches
the
them.
only thing I remember, and I could have sworn that was like the very beginning of the movie. So I was kind of like, wait, when is that part? And it wasn't until like an hour in. So I'd never
Interesting.
seen this before.
Oh wow. All right. Wow. All right. So Jim, not really big on the American Pie franchise. I, however, was a big American Pie fan. This whole franchise. This was big for me, Rob, and Zach. Which makes sense because that was what the three of us always did. We would watch shitty comedies. If anyone's been listening to this channel since the beginning, we've done plenty of really silly comedies. So that was a staple for me, Big Rob and Zach, was to watch
Yeah,
American Pie movies. Just watch shitty, gross out humor movies. This one actually is a pretty seminal franchise, at least for me. The first American Pie was actually one of the first R-rated movies that Big Rob ever let me watch. And it was funny because he would let us watch everything but the sex scenes. So the scene where Jim premature ejaculates when he's with Nadia, we had to skip over that. So I never knew that scene even existed in the movie.
yeah,
So he would skip over all the gross out sex stuff, but any of the other stuff was open game. No worries, we could watch that. So the first American Pie was huge in my household. First R-rated comedy I got to watch as a kid. This one actually is also another a completely different one where me, Big Rob, and Zach went to go see this one in theaters. And this was actually a movie that Big Rob took me and Zach to try and cheer us up because at the time, this is what like summer of 2003. My grandma is actually right at this moment, like at this point in time, in the hospital and would eventually, never leave the hospital. She would die at this point. And we were like, I think
oh
I was like,
God.
yeah, I think I was like 13. And I remember it so specifically because I've always hated going to the hospital. I've never liked being around there. I don't like being in there. I hate every second of it. And
It's
we had to
because you
go.
associate it with American Wedding.
Yeah. The
Is
two are
that why?
the two are just so culturally entwined now that I just can't even step foot in them anymore. But so the day we went to go see this movie was actually after a visit at the hospital visiting my grandma. And a way for my dad to cheer us up after having to go to that was let's go see American Wedding. And at the time it worked wonders. We loved it. The three of us had a great time. This is a movie. While I watched the other ones more than this one, I don't return to this one as much. I still always enjoyed all of these movies. So it was fun to go back to this one because this was one I hadn't watched in a while too. So it was interesting to see if I would still have those same feelings, if I would associate this movie still with that feeling of just like, hey, I got to have a good day out of, a terrible, moment in my life. Or if I would watch this now and go, ooh, man, or why would Rob take us to this back then? That's just putting insult to injury.
Yeah, I mean, like, what I would say is I find myself a lot when I'm watching movies saying the phrase, it could be worse. And like you've never had more of just a absolute like Dr. J, Clyde Frazier setup to slam dunk. It could be worse. You know what I mean? Like than the day you saw American Pie. Like,
True, it's true. Regardless of what it was, it
or
was
like
that it
just
was
like
that day.
as long as it doesn't remind me of my grandma dying, it's gonna get good grades, right? So I just like, I don't know, like maybe you were a little biased, I guess is what I'm getting at here.
Yeah, well, definitely back then. Thankfully, we've for this go around, enough time has passed that I will not hold that one to the point here watching it this time.
Just like there's nostalgia, and then there's that what you were just talking about. And
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, but thankfully I won't have that lens for this time. I can sit there and watch it now and not immediately think of my grandma dying. So there will hopefully that will not be a factor in this go around as we dive into this movie here
okay,
today.
okay.
And I promise you, if you have any type of hard thoughts to say about this movie, don't feel like you have to pull your punches now because I'll be like, but my grandma died that movie.
Don't worry, don't worry. I don't feel that way whatsoever.
Good. That's the Jim I know and love.
The thought never even crossed my mind.
Well, good. I'm glad because now we'll turn our attention over to our favorite segment to talk about when it comes to these movies, and that is the lovely box office return. So let's cue it up, Jim. Let's dive into some juicy box office numbers.
Numbers, dates, numbers, numbers, dates, array, dates, numbers. Show me the money.
Show me the money.
So,
Interesting.
American Wedding, the third installment of the illustrious American Pie series, is going to open up with a $55 million budget. The weekend
Okay.
of August 1st through August 3rd of 2003.
The dog days of summer, baby.
Yeah, so like and like we've seen comedies kind of like come out in this is kind of like the lane for comedies in the summer movie season.
Yeah,
And we've
I feel like
talked about
early-
like how crazy the summer movie season's been up to this point in 2003.
Yeah, especially 2003. And I feel like August too is always a good point for comedy because it's like you're kind of last hurrah before kids are going back to school. Everyone's looking for that last like little bit of jump out of the box office. You can't go wrong with comedy.
Well, I mean you can because it shares an opening weekend with Gigli.
All right. God, that
Which
movie.
is like that's a comedy movie too. That's the only reason I bring it up.
Is
like
it,
this
though?
is also like it's definitely supposed to be. It's
Have you
definitely
seen
supposed to
Geely?
be. Yes, I have.
I've never seen it, so I'll take your word for it on the comedy
It's
aspect.
definitely like a summer movie for sure, but it's definitely more on the like there's it's supposed to be funny. In
Interesting.
a different way than American Wedding is supposed to be funny, but it's supposed to be funny. So like, and that movie shares an opening weekend with it, fails miserably. It's down in eighth, but American Wedding
Ooh.
is going to open number one overall with
Oh yeah.
4 million.
With how much did you say?
33.4 million.
All right. 33.4 million. A little bit on the lower end for us here, but wow, it's so it's going to fall in the number 27 spot, and it's going to come in just behind Gladiator's 34.8 opening weekend, but just ahead of the Pokemon First movie's 31. And I did not realize, I could have completely forgotten that Gladiator had that low of an opening weekend. That's crazy that they are that close to each other.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy until you realize that Gladiator has a bunch of legs and makes a lot more money than American Wedding does total.
That's true. It's true.
And that,
Gladiator will go
American
on.
Wedding, like this is the top heavy big opening weekend because like if
For
you're
it.
seeing American Wedding, you're probably seeing it the weekend it comes out.
That's true. Do you think a bunch of other people were with me and they also had grandparents dying and they just needed to get some comedy in there?
Yeah, that's just the whole audience is people who are like just going through things that are so horrible that they'd just rather see even American Wedding. Like,
Dude, 2003
so
summer was a
silly.
rough time for people.
Yeah, and I mean it's beating out like the second weekend of Spy Kids 3 is in second, Pirates is in its fourth weekend down in third, Seabiscuit, like we've talked about a bunch of these, right?
Oh yeah.
So weekend two, American Wedding is gonna drop all the way down to third, and like we just talked about, very top heavy. We've seen some movies with some great drops, like below 50%, below 30% even. American Wedding drops 53.7% down to 15.5 million.
Not amazing, but not horrible either. That's kind of like how most comedies tend to drop week over week. Because like you said, comedies are very front heavy. Like most people that want to see a comedy movie are going to go first weekend, and you're only going to get that good leg if it has good word of mouth.
Right, if it's like really good, which
Yeah.
maybe not too much of a worry in this case. But it also, like, in its second week, it runs into the
Yeah.
buzzsaw that is the 1 and 2 movies here, with SWAT opening #1 and the Lindsay
Oh,
Lohan vehicle Freaky Friday coming in second.
dude, and famously, everybody knows that in week 2 of American Wedding, nobody had any family members dying anymore or anything. So people were happy. They
Right,
were going to catch action
right.
movies.
No, people were onto like the anger stage, so they were like, I want to go see a Colin Farrell movie called SWAT.
We were going through the 5 stages. At this point, we just needed something heavy to just get through our anger.
Um, so, ay, ay, ay. So, weekend 3, let's go to weekend 3 here. American Wedding drops another 45.7% down to
Yikes.
7th place with 8.4 million.
Okay.
And then, I mean, I guess we'll just ride it out of the top 10, right? We're getting so close. We
Yeah, I
might
mean,
as
I can't, I
well.
can't imagine it's hanging around for long.
Weekend 4 and 35% drop down to 5.5 million. It's in 9th place.
Ooh, holding on by a thread.
And then weekend 5.
Can
Oh,
it make
weekend
it?
5, it holds 10th place with 3.7 million.
Here we go. We got 5, baby.
And then finally in weekend 6, a 41.3% drop down to 2.2 million in 11th place.
Oof. And what weekend is that? Like, what's the date?
Weekend 6.
What's the date though for that weekend?
Oh, for September 5th to the 7th.
Gotcha. Okay, so it made it just about a month.
So that's what after which one's in September? Labor Day?
Labor Day?
Question mark?
Yes. Question mark, question mark, exclamation point. Yeah, but all right. So 5 weeks is it joins a plethora of other movies that managed to hang out in 5 weeks. Lot of other mediocre movies, which makes sense for where this, especially comedy movies. Comedy movies, it seems to be the 5 week mark is the litmus test for how long you're gonna hang around. So it's joining other movies like Scary Movie, Kangaroo Jack, Shanghai Nights, and Old School.
Oh wow, yeah, that's interesting that it's like a whole like every one of those is a comedy movie.
Yeah. So yeah, a lot of comedy hanging around for just about a month, which I guess makes sense because, like we said, most people, when it comes to a comedy movie, they're going to check it out first weekend, and only if it's really, really good and catching a zeitgeist moment are people going to be seeing it for a month after that.
Yeah, it makes sense. Plus, I mean, like Dickie Roberts comes out that same weekend and drops out of the top 10. So how is it supposed to compete with that? You know?
People are on. That was the weekend when we all hit our stage of grief that was acceptance. Now we move on to the next comedy movie.
Dickie Roberts' acceptance. Ay, ay, ay.
All right, let me hear some
And then yeah,
totals.
let's do some totals, right? It finishes domestically with 104.6 million. International, this is an interesting one to have a pretty big international number with
Okay.
128.2
Oh,
for a
damn.
worldwide total of like 232.7 million.
Ooh, all right, dude. The international market, big fan of sex comedies. But you said what was it? 232.7?
Yeah, 232.7 worldwide.
That's good enough to put us in the number 31 spot in our list. Just behind Too Fast, Too Furious, 236, and ahead of How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days with 177.5. But hey, this even though I think this is the lowest grossing of the three that had come out at that point, they're still making money off of these. $55 million budget, you're pulling in 231. We had, we don't have any DVD sales on this one, but you imagine you're making probably at least another 100 mil off your DVD sales. So it makes sense that they would go straight to DVD streaming after this and just hit that DVD market right there with those spinoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I mean,
Yeah,
like, it also kind of makes sense that it has a decent international market because, like, from what I've heard, when, like, people in France, like, think of American comedies, they're not thinking of anything, like, clever. They're thinking of American Wedding. You know what I mean? Like, this is, like,
interesting.
a stereotypical American movie to them. So, like, when it comes
Yeah,
out, they're like, oh, yeah, let's go see that movie.
interesting. They just love their sex comedies over there. Portuguese, it's the best.
Porky. It's so
Uh,
silly.
Now we move on to critically, and critically is about very middling, as long right along with like a middling return here in the box office. We got 53% from the critics on Rotten Tomatoes, which that's a Rotten Tomato right there. But 63% from the audience, which had a big popcorn bucket with the popcorn spewing out. So I assume that means pretty good on the audience
I
side.
think that's good. Yeah, I think
Yeah, I think
anything above 50 is like in plus territory on
yeah,
that.
it's solid for them at least. So that yeah, that holds up. 6.3 on IMDb, right around the middle, right there. A little bit on the lower side. Usually we see in the upper sevens. And then the death nail for this movie though, B plus cinema score.
Ooh, that's
Yeah,
rough.
yeah. B couldn't get over the A minus hump. So B plus, not great there. So
You at least gotta get to the A minus. Like, if a movie
yeah,
just exists, it basically gets an A minus cinema score at least. So, like, if you're not getting that, people had to like really hate your guts.
yeah. You really had to screw something up to not at least get your coveted A minus. But we turn. I got a couple of reviews here, Jim. This was another one. I would have thought this would be chock full of great reviews in there for user reviews, but not that many. I got 2 1 stars and 1 10 star to go through here for American Wedding. So our first one here was put out. They saw this. This person was really upset with this movie because he wrote this review July 31st, which was the Thursday before this. So he went probably to the midnight screening and immediately came home and had some
Oh,
choice
yeah.
words to write about this movie.
Which, I mean, what does that say about you that you went to the midnight showing of American Wedding? What are you thinking, man?
Had
Like,
to be there, man. Probably one of like 6 other people there for waiting out front to get their ticket.
yeah.
Very excited for this movie. But so he writes this: a punk ass kid orgasming into a beer is not funny. A punk ass kid drinking the beer is not funny. A bunch of punk ass kids degrading women as sex objects is not funny. A punk ass kid reading a book about giving oral pleasure to a girl while doing it to the girl is not funny. Having characters in a movie that you could care less about is not funny. Ripping off the classic Animal House is not funny. That is his review. All of the
Wow.
things that he said isn't funny all happened in the first American Pie
I
movie.
was gonna say, I'm like, that's not, none of that happened in this
Yeah,
movie, right? Like, I don't think I
yeah.
saw any of that.
All of that stuff happened in the first American Pie movie. But what I find the funniest of this is that he has the audacity to say that all the stuff in this movie isn't funny, but then says you're ripping off the classic Animal House. Animal House, a movie that is, the litmus
It
test
has
for
everything he
respectable
just
people caring about
listed.
women. Like he writes, degrading women as sex objects is not funny, and then calls Animal House a classic. It's like, dude,
Right, like that's
have you
like the
watched
whole
Animal
that's the
House?
whole point of Animal House.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's
Like
like
what's it?
90% of the movie.
Yeah, Belushi climbs a ladder to stare into the fraternity as they're like getting naked, like in one scene. It's like, dude, come on, man. Like, what are we talking about here? So I thought that review was very funny. And Reeds is a guy that I'm now questioning if he even actually even saw the third one.
Yeah, I wonder if it was like he knew the new one was coming out and he was gonna go see it, so went to go watch the first two for the first time and just finished the first one and was like so beside himself.
Yeah, he was just like, absolutely fucking not. It's putrid sex comedy. How dare they? I'm gonna go watch
It's
respectable
so
comedies
funny
like
that it's
Animal
like
House.
a week before it came out, so it's like the Thursday right before he went and saw the midnight one.
Yeah, what a clown. What a clown. And then now we got our second one here. This is was dated August 14th, 2003. So this is about a week after the movie came out, probably a week and a half. They write, or this person writes, we finally walked out of American Wedding after enduring 2/3 of offensive scenes. Distasteful plot, if there is any, not representative of any actual American weddings, i.e., having to do with prostitutes, gays, and kinky parties. The bride even
Oh
went under the
no,
table before the groom proposed.
not the gays.
That yeah, I was like, whoa, dude, why are you bringing the gays into this? It's a very
Was that the whole thing?
yeah, that was the whole thing. And then she finished with the bride even went under the table before the groom proposed. God forbid.
I mean, listen, this lady's just a traditionalist, okay? She's not, there's nothing wrong. She's a little misguided on a few of her things. She's old school.
I was half expecting this to end with "Make American Wedding Great Again."
Yeah, I mean you're kind of on that road a little bit. Yeah, I just think it's funny that the big thing is like that she went under the table before, as if like once you're married, that's like a totally normal thing to do at a restaurant. It's
Yeah, right.
like,
Once she's got that ring on her finger, if she wants to go down under the table at an Olive Garden, that's her
yeah,
goddamn right.
then it's none of my business. I know what you're thinking. What if you're in the Olive Garden? Especially if you're in the Olive Garden, it's none of your business.
Ah, what a classic traditionalist. Now I'm gonna have to have my eyes out every time I go to a restaurant now, see if I find her. Just sneaking under any tables.
It just has to be this lady who wrote this one review for American Pie. It's the only answer.
The only answer. She's always around. And then now we'll look at our 10 out of 10. The 10 out of 10s weren't that funny. But I did find this one woman who seemed to maybe drink too much of the American Wedding Kool-Aid. And so she wrote, American Wedding was nothing short of fantastic. The movie is a solid end to a great comedic trilogy. Not only can you expect roaring laughs throughout the film, but everyone you've come to love are back and better than ever. Everyone's chemistry works perfectly, and when Jim and Michelle are going to do their first dance, I practically felt like it was my kid who just got married. I couldn't stop the tears.
See, so like I'm gonna choose to believe that that person's real, because like that was the person that I was hating while I was watching this movie. Like the person who like was just like actually like emotionally invested in the American Pie movies. So now they made one where the two characters get married and it's supposed to be like heartfelt. Like that was the person the whole movie. I was like, why do you exist? What is your purpose? Like,
I've been following along since the beginning. I'm so invested in these characters' lives.
yeah, like she said it felt like her own kids were getting married. Like,
Yeah,
Jesus Christ.
very invested. This might be a cat lady, just like living at home, has like no, she just talks to like her imaginary children that she never got to have. And she's like, oh yeah, I got to see Jim and Michelle tie the knot.
Yeah, it's like this is like her Harry Potter. Like maybe she was like like a senior in high school when the first one came out. I don't know, like, but she just like for whatever reason is latched on to
Yeah.
this.
She's too terminally invested in a franchise that should just be for like some quick laughs at times.
Yeah, it's a franchise that shouldn't be a franchise. It should have just been like one movie and then like we all like forgot about it and like, you know, laughed about it or remembered it and thought it was cool, but like it's like you're not supposed to care about any of the kids in a teen sex comedy.
Yeah. Instead, we got three, four more of them, plus a bunch of different spin-offs. This lady definitely saw the spin-offs. She had to have. There's not a doubt in my mind. She was heavily invested in everything the American Pie franchise had to offer.
Yeah, and I hate all this stuff like Stifler's a gym teacher now. Wouldn't he be such a good gym teacher? Like I hate it. It's like,
Well, I guess now we're kind of cueing ourselves into it, slipping into the frame of mind here, Jim. So I've gathered just a hint throughout all we've built up so far that maybe this movie doesn't hit as hard for you as it might for some. So let's hear some thoughts on American Wedding.
yeah. No, it's just really dumb, dude. I don't get why it exists. I hate it so much. If I ever saw anything of it, I'd always want it to be the first movie. And like, I don't know, like, do you think the person in that review was real? Like, is there really people out there who see this movie and are like, man, Jim and Michelle got married and that was exactly what needed to happen? You know what I mean? Like, are there
Oh
people
no,
out there?
I'm sure there's plenty of people out there because if there's anything we've learned through social media is that people totally latch on to anything. And some people will latch on to the barest of things. Case in point, that woman fawning over the fact that these two like gross out sex people from a gross out sex comedy are getting married, and it's still just gonna be a gross out sex movie, but they've latched onto it like it's this beautiful blossoming thing that we've watched happen over a decade.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, which it wasn't even that long, right? This is only a couple of years after the first one.
Yeah, I think the first one came out like 98, 99,
I
and
think
this
it
is
was
2000,
99, yeah.
and this is 2003. So we're really only talking about like 6, 7 years here to
Which,
put out
yeah, and I
three
mean, like,
movies.
are they supposed to be like in their second year of college when they're getting married? Is that what's happening?
I I think so. Or they're like fresh out of college.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I suppose if they finished school in 1999, 4 years is about as long as it should take. Yeah.
Hopefully, depending on whatever they were going to study. I can't see Jim being a rocket scientist in that franchise, so I would imagine 4 years was about all he's putting in.
Yeah, yeah, right.
Maybe
He's
Michelle
lucky
might
if he
go
gets
for an
like a
undergrad, but definitely not anyone else.
trade.
Well, yeah, they had to because Stifler's now working as the gym teacher, which it was
Yeah,
funny that you
that's
commented
right. Yeah,
about
he's
that.
old enough to be a gym teacher, I guess.
Yeah. That was actually something that, not that, I'm like, yeah, this movie's so smart, but it made sense for me at least because it's like, oh yeah, he's the guy from high school that talks a lot of big game that's going to go nowhere and he's going to end up just continuing to live in his town and he becomes the gym teacher at the school where he was cool. Like, yeah, that tracks.
Yeah, I hate it so much. It's so lazy. It's like
Yeah, but
exactly why I shouldn't care about it at all. You know what? You know what Stifler becoming the gym teacher is? It's like the stupid like paragraph that they put on the screen next to his like yearbook picture at the end of the first movie. They're like, and then Stifler became the gym teacher. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I hate it so much.
that was a running gag a lot in the 80s where they'd have at the end where it was like the freeze frame on the character and it was like what they would go on to do.
Yeah, honestly, that's what this whole movie is. Like, it's like Jim and Michelle got married, like, and then they had a couple of kids. Like, it's all like just the stupid blurb that they put next to people. Only they made a whole movie out of it, which is stupid, because that's why it's the blurb in the first place. I don't actually care.
Man, man, tell me how you really feel here.
I'm so
Is it
annoyed that I had to watch this stupid movie.
It's funny, and it makes it even funnier because you never really remember even the first one or watch the second one. So it's funny that you dive right into this one and you just have to watch like the lowest of the lows. Because I mean, I'm not as harsh on this movie as you are. I do think it is the worst of the three. I do think it is really stupid at a lot of times, but there's still a bunch of moments scattered. Like that, this movie to me is a bunch of like scattered skits throughout this movie that make me chuckle. But as a whole movie, I agree with you, is stupid. But I'm not as harsh as I think I hate every second of this movie as it seems to be that seems to be where you're kind of falling here on this.
I mean, it might have just been that we recorded it like an hour after I was done watching it. You know what I mean? Like we're doing this like right after I watched it. And so like I'm not really thrilled that I spent like 2 hours doing that today.
It's a fresh
Maybe
hatred there
maybe
for
if I
you.
had cooled down a little bit, I'd be a little less harsh.
You had a
But
few
like
minutes to walk around and digest it.
yeah, it's just like I don't know. It's like maybe the biggest critique I might have of it though is like, okay, if it was like a gross out movie that really was like pushing the boundaries and was funny, I wouldn't necessarily be so mad about it, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
But like, is it just me or is this movie also like incredibly tame? I don't know if that's just like the time that's passed and if things are just way less tame than they used to be. But
Hmm.
all of this felt so corny. Like it wasn't like it wasn't like edgy or like anything like that.
No, I do agree with you that this is tame compared to most sex comedies, especially the previous other two American Pies. Also, and I think that's probably part and parcel in the fact that this is the third one. So how much more unique and different gross sex stuff can we be coming up with? Because by the third movie, you're opening up with the joke where it's like, all right, Michelle's going to go under the table and blow him. And then the dad's going to show up to give the ring. And it's like, we've been there 3 times already. His dad's walked in on him jerking off in the first one. His dad walked in on him having sex with a college girl in the second one. It's not so much, I feel like that it's
Yeah, but
any
like
more
you
gross out.
also
It's
like
just it's derivative. We've seen all this stuff already.
yeah, it's also like it doesn't make any fucking sense because like on the one hand like I could see like a high school kid like trying to have sex in his room while his parents aren't home and accidentally ending up on a webcam, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or like a dad walking into a kid's college dorm. it's so stupid that they're in a restaurant and he's about to propose to her and she's like, you know what? I'm just gonna get under the table and blow him. Like, it's so stupid.
Yeah.
Nobody does that. Like,
Yeah. Well, I think, and then that again, I think ties in to the issue that when you're getting, especially in, teen sex comedy movies, once you're out of the teen element, that stuff is going to be tougher to sell because now it's like, well, they're not kids anymore. We're not real. Like, do I really give a pass on this third time at this point? They're out of college. They're in their 20s. Like, Michelle's just going to go under the table at a restaurant and blow him. Like, no. And also, like, again, to the point, like at the third time already, you have to do stuff more and more outrageous to try and up the previous movie. And the danger of doing that is the more outrageous you have to one up the previous stuff you did, the closer and closer you come to that point where you're jumping the shark, where it's too much, where now we've gone
yeah.
over the outrageousness and now it's just ridiculous.
Right, and that's the thing. It's not really raunchy as much as it's like silly. You know what I mean? Like that's
Exactly.
kind of like the line that I feel like a movie like this needs to be on the right side of, and this movie's not. And
Yeah.
then like I mean that's really like the grossest thing that happens. I mean like come on, like he puts like a piece of dog shit in his mouth.
I'm not gonna
Like
lie,
and
that
like
cracks me up. That cracks me up every time. I'm not gonna lie. That one gets me every time.
they're like, but like, I don't know. Like, they're like fighting over it like it's like a chocolate truffle. It's like you're telling me that lady doesn't know the difference between a chocolate truffle and a piece of dog shit? Like, I'm pretty sure they don't look anything alike, actually.
And you would also think that they would also all be standing around like smelling shit. Like you'd be like, something smells like shit over here. Does anyone smell that?
Yeah,
I
I
think it
don't
might
know.
be that chocolate truffle.
Yeah, and then like Stifler has his whole like like fast talking like swearing like but even that stuff like he doesn't seem like that he seems like a corny like 50-year-old white dude's version of that like a guy who like goes to church every Sunday and like you know what I mean like he has like one glass of wine a week like who's like what would a fast talking swear person sound like that's what it seems like to me like there's nothing like genuine about it like and again, I don't know if that's just because somebody's done that like 100 different times in like a way more vulgar thing. But
Yeah.
like think about like the guy from like Hall Pass who's basically filling the same like Jason Sudeikis in Hall Pass is filling like the same kind of lane, like where he's like the really foul, like um doesn't really like have any filter, always like saying like the most ridiculous swear words. Compare that to Stifler in this movie, and like one of them's doing it, like actually doing it, and the other one seems like so lame in comparison to me.
Well, especially in the early 2000s, all of those loudmouth characters are kind of very similar in the way that they talk. Because you look at a lot of the comedies from the early 2000s, and it's mostly just like, hey, what if we said like retarded a lot and we made like really homophobic jokes all the time? Like that was the very early 2000s comedy that so many of these movies followed. And a big issue, I think, for Stifler, especially in this movie, is that they kind of Jack Sparrow him in the sense that if you look at the later Pirates movies like 4 and 5, where they get rid of everybody else and they put Jack Sparrow front and center, and you're kind of like, like when it's all on him, he's really annoying. Like he should be a supporting. They do the same thing in this movie with Stifler. Like, because we lost a bunch of the other characters and we only have some of the American Pie characters, Stifler really becomes a huge focal point of this movie. And it's very annoying and grating because he's much better as a side character that only shows up like through a handful of scenes to add a little color instead of being the front man of this movie in a sense. Because yeah, it's about Jim and Michelle, but we're going Stifler's in like every scene, driving every
It's
single second of
about
the plot, and it's
it's about Jim and
torturous.
Michelle, but that's actually super boring. So who gives a shit about Jim and Michelle? So
Yeah,
let's put Stifler in it.
exactly. Like instead of like everything being on, Jim's awkwardness and Michelle's like kind of like shy but domineering personality, we're just going to follow Stifler as he just kind of one-ups himself throughout every second of this movie. And I don't want to follow that. Like
Yeah.
he too much of him is not a good thing.
Yeah, and I mean like yeah, so I agree with that. And then he's like kind of the lame version of that character, like I was saying. And then like Can you imagine a worse bachelor party that's ever happened than the bachelor party that happens in this movie? It is so stupid. Like, I can't tell if like part of the point is that these guys are all losers. Like, I feel like it's got to be part of the point, right?
It is. It's definitely part of the point, especially you know, because you don't really remember the first one or the second one, but the big part of this movie is that all of them, even Stifler, like they're all losers. Like Stifler might like I think what made Stifler good in the first one and the second one is that he talks up this big game and he seems so cool because he plays lacrosse and he's, you know, like always like talking to chicks and throwing parties, but he constantly always gets the rug thrown over him. Like no matter what he does, it always blows up in his face. And it happens with every single one of them. Like they're all like, I want to lose my virginity in the first one. And it blows up in all their faces. In the second one, they're
Yeah.
like, we all want to throw the coolest party and be the coolest dudes over the summer. Blows up in their faces all the time. Like these guys are losers.
Yeah, and like I get like the whole idea of in a comedy movie, like your characters are gonna fail in funny ways, but like the party itself, I think is supposed to be like fun and funny, maybe, and it's
Mhm.
literally just four guys in a room with two strippers who are like making them like dress up as maids. I don't know, like it doesn't make it's so bad. I hate it so much.
They're like Mr. Belvedere and his assless chaps.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, which like Mr. Belvedere, don't even get me started. Like, the whole joke is that he's gay. It's not
Yeah.
like in Scary Movie, like when like the joke is that he's gay but can't admit that he's gay. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
the whole
Yeah.
joke is just, hey, that guy's gay. Like,
Yeah. And it's also like very
which like
2003 of
isn't
this
that
movie.
funny, right? That's not really a joke, actually. Like,
Yeah, no, it's not. Like it's just like, hey, this character is actually gay, and like, look, he's an assless chaps. Like, isn't that funny? And it's like, yeah, no, not really.
yeah,
Like,
and he can dance.
yeah, that
Like,
scene especially is so early 2000s of them to do, where it's like Stifler is so vain and obsessed with himself to think that everybody, even gay people, want him, and they're like, no. But then he's just like puts on a very over the top dance, and then they're all like, yeah, this guy's the man. Like,
yeah.
then
Yeah,
they
so
love
I
him.
don't know. Just like the worst. It's the worst movie. I'm so mad you saw it in theaters. I'm so mad I had to watch it. Like, and I mean, like, I guess there's some funny parts. What's up with the two friends, by the way? Why on earth are those guys even in the movie? You should have just said they died in a bus crash or something, because
Oh my God.
they're like watching paint dry, dude. Like,
It's the kid from Rookie of the Year and the other guy.
yeah, yeah,
Like he's the
yeah.
two buddies.
Finch and Kevin.
Yeah,
Kevin is like wallpaper this whole
yeah,
movie. Like he's there to be like, remember that time, guys?
yeah.
Like,
Well, I think that's another huge issue with this movie is that it doesn't give anybody other than Stifler really anything to do in this movie. Like his other two friends, like you said, they don't do it. Like Finch kind of has something because like he's playing off with Stifler where they're each trying to get Michelle's sister, but
yeah, like a little bit, but how often, like, how much screen time does that actually happen?
not much.
Like what, like maybe like 90 seconds of the movie that dynamic is playing, like where the two of them are like, nah, like told you so, like.
Yeah. Yeah. But no, but yeah, the kid from Rookie of the Year, especially, really has nothing to do in this entire movie. And it's also a shame that they got rid of everybody else for this movie. Like their last friend, Oz, Chris Klein's not even in this movie. A
Yeah,
bunch
yeah,
of the
yeah.
other girls are gone. So it's weird that they were just like, let's shed most everybody and just focus in on like Stifler being Stifler and in that movie will ride us to the bank. And it's like,
Yeah, well, I think you're making a good point though. Is like it's less of an ensemble movie at this point, and it's more of like it's focusing on like three people, but then also Finch and like some other guy are in it.
yeah. So it's just it's very clear by this one that they're running out of gas in terms
It's
of
just
what
more.
you
It's
can do.
more end of movie yearbook blurbs where it should be like Finch went to NYU and he got laid a lot. Like that's
Yeah,
like all it should say. Like I don't need it. Like
yeah. This is a whole movie of extra stuff that we just didn't need. And I'm guessing too off of this, you didn't see the sequel that they released years later, the American Reunion.
No, no, of course not. Why would I ever watch it? Tio, you saw that?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, Jim, I saw that in
Oh my
theaters. So just
God.
wait till we get down there. We'll eventually be returning to the American Pie franchise.
I can't. That got released in theaters too. That wasn't like a direct streaming movie.
No, no, that got out in theaters. I think that was around like 2011, I want to say.
Oy vey.
That
Why?
came
Why
out
do they do these things?
and they did that. Dude, Hollywood's gonna Hollywood. You know this. If there's
Yeah, I
anything
mean,
that
I
they can
guess if
mine some money out of, they're gonna do it.
people keep going to see it, why not? I suppose.
Yeah, hey, I was there. I went and saw it. I'm there
Yeah,
for it.
that's right. You're to blame for this.
I
That's
am. I
really
am.
what
I
it
am
is.
to blame for this. I am always there. So yeah, I get everything you're saying. I can agree with all of what you're saying. It is all stupid. It's so thinly written. You can absolutely feel that they're just trying to coast off of this franchise because we've made money, so we should do another one. And they're
Yeah,
just
and coast is the perfect word because it's like to me, if you're making a sequel to a movie, like the first question you should ask is like, do I have an interesting like
hook.
angle that this can take? You know what I mean? And like them getting married is not one like at all, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like you're saying, like it's just like, well, if we make this before we think about anything else, are people going to go see it? And then they were just like, yes, and they were like, all right, great, let's not think about it anymore. Let's just make it.
Yeah.
Like,
They were like, just do whatever then, because people are going to go to it. And it shows that that writing was on the wall because the original director of the first two movies didn't come back. This movie gets painfully derivative. So this movie ended up being the least grossing out of the three of them. So this got put on the shelf and went straight to DVD after that. So it shows that them not thinking that through didn't really pay off for them in the long run.
yeah,
Because it's and I think that's the biggest thing I could say about this movie. Like there are a smack roll of scenes that make me laugh. There are moments throughout this movie that make me chuckle. But at the end of the day, this movie is painfully derivative of what they've already done better in this franchise. So it's a movie that I would never have to return to unless we were doing something like this. Because if I'm going to watch an American Pie movie, I'm going to watch the second one because that's the best one. Other
yeah,
than that,
of
why would I
course.
go to the one that does the funny stuff the worst out of all of these ones?
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah. So like I don't hate it as much as you do. It seems like this was one of your least favorite that we've had to watch in a while. So I'm not right at that bottom of the barrel, but I'm like one step above that. Like there's collections of scenes that make me laugh, but as a whole, this movie really missed the ball.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I don't know. It's probably more like less about this specific movie and more about just like how it embodies everything that was wrong with the early 2000s in terms of like movies. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
Like it's very much like a product of its time where there was like I mean there's still a lot of cash grabs today, don't get me wrong, but like a lot of the cash grabs today aren't quite as lazy as this type of movie was. You know what
yeah,
I mean? Like it's like
definitely.
they really phoned it in, you know?
Yeah, and you
Um
really around this time too start to see the comedy movie kind of shift from the like 90s and early 2000s like sex grave teen comedy like this and start to morph into those Judd Apatow style comedies especially,
yeah,
because we, we
well,
we earlier talked about Old School this year already, and then you have American Wedding, and then right next year is going to be 40-Year-Old Virgin, and that
right,
kind
which
of
is
even kind of completely changes how the comedy movies are made, even though 40-Year-Old Virgin is still kind of like a sex comedy in a
it
sense.
is. It's a teen sex comedy starring a 40-year-old. That's kind of like the whole point.
Yeah.
Like, but, but, like, again, that's even a better movie to point to for like how corny this movie is. Because
Yep.
if this and 40-year-old Virgin are operating in the same lane, and like maybe even 40-year-old Virgin would feel a little bit corny today, but like it's way raunchier than this movie ever dreams about being. You know what I mean? Like even
Yeah.
in like the first like 5 minutes with Seth Rogen like talking about going to like Tijuana, Mexico. You know what I mean? Like nothing in this movie gets as close to as like disgusting or as funny as that like one monologue is in 4-Year-Old Virgin. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
like if you miss on those both, if you miss on both of those in a movie like American Wedding, what are we even doing? You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, they definitely feel like they changed it up too, especially as we get into these 2000s movies where you're getting a lot of new comedic actors that are really good at improving and coming up with
Right.
these new and hilarious raunchy things that you never thought would be said in a comedy movie. Whereas these movies, Sean William Scott, Jason Biggs, like they're comedic actors, but you don't know how good at improv they really are. It's more like they're
Yeah.
following a script of like,
Right.
hey, this is just, a funny line we came up with that doesn't land as hard. Whereas a year from now, you're going to get a collection of actors in like Seth Rogen, Vince Vaughn, Owen Wilson, Will Ferrell that are so like uniquely funny that it just completely changes how they're going to make comedy movies and needed that new boon to push it forward. Because American Wedding, if they kept making movies like this into the 2000s, like comedy would have died a lot earlier than it did today.
Yeah, honestly, that's like a really interesting point that like guys like Paul Rudd and Steve Carell are like big improv comedians and like obviously like when you put them in a movie versus you put Jason Biggs and Sean William Scott in a movie, you're really like the talent level is kind of different, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, comparative in the comedic actors that you're getting. So it makes sense that this movie not only killed the American Pie franchise, at least theatrically, but really showed that sign that comedy movies really needed some new blood and a new life force if it was going to continue into the 2000s.
Yeah, I think what we learned is that they needed to star Eugene Levy and Fred Willard instead of Jason Biggs and Sean William Scott.
Yeah,
Like,
because
if
I
you
will
made
say,
this exact movie, but Eugene Levy and Fred Willard were the main characters, there's a pretty good chance I like it. Like, you just take a different
yeah,
angle, and like they all have different names. Like,
yeah. Well, Eugene Levy is just such a funny guy. Like he could be funny in anything. And we talked about it only a few episodes ago. One of the shining lights in Dumb and Dumberer being Eugene Levy. So
yeah,
he just always knows the job, and he's always so good at making whatever he's saying just sound hilarious.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and that's pretty much all I got to say about American Wedding. Do you have anything else you feel that you need to add?
Yeah, I mean, I just want to ask why. You know, I just want. That's all.
Now, I like we did just mention, American Reunion coming out was probably like around 2011. It's been a while again, Jim. Is there any arena where we could see another American Pie movie coming out? What unexplored territory could we possibly have that American Pie hasn't touched yet? Or do you think there's even a world left for a kind of comedy like American Pie, another American Pie in the comedy realm?
I think you call it American Cult. And they all join like a Waco style like like Christian revival and then we light them all on fire and that's the end of the movie.
Oh
How does
boy.
that sound?
Really puts a pin in any future longevity to the American Pie franchise.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I mean, what is it? Like it's about their kids or something stupid like that? Like that's
Yeah.
probably the thing, right?
I mean, that would be the only place you could go, really. And then you just do like Jason Biggs is now his dad from the first one, and he sees
Yeah,
like
and
it come
then
full
and then you
circle.
know like they go to school like Stifler's still the gym teacher. Maybe he has
Yeah.
like a daughter who's just as filthy as Stifler. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Like, oh
That
God,
dude.
I hate it so
There we
much.
go. All right, Jim, I'm booking the tickets to Hollywood. We're going to pitch this right now.
Yeah, no thanks.
Netflix will buy this immediately. You're
I'm
telling me
sure they're
Netflix
already
won't
doing
put
it.
this?
Don't worry.
It's out there. It's coming. We got to get Hollywood on the phone. But all right, we could turn our attention now to the next segment. I'm curious. Did you look up? Do we have any awards contention here, or are we just looking into any one of these illustrious filmmakers?
Yeah, so I mean like much like Lord of the Rings Return of the King, you know, like this is like kind of like a career achievement kind of a thing for two award ceremonies that have become near and dear to our heart. The
Oh
MTV
boy.
Movie Awards.
Yeah, dude, there was no way the MTV Movie Awards weren't going to show this movie some love. Like this would be the prototypical movie I would assume that the MTV Movie Awards would lap up. Is a teen sex comedy. Like that's their bread and butter right there.
Yeah. So it doesn't do as good in the MTV Movie Awards as you would think. It does get one nomination and it gets one win.
Okay.
If you had to guess, what would you say it won for? Just like stab in the dark.
What American Wedding could have won for.
Yeah, and I mean, if
Um,
you want to give me like a specific sequence of the movie, if you want to give me a category, whatever you want to do, like for what you think this movie could have won for at the MTV Movie Awards.
okay. I am going to guess because I know the MTV Movie Awards loves to have its bizarre out there awards that it won for best dance sequence.
Oh, you cheated. No way.
Am I right?
Yeah.
No, dude, how would I cheat? You're looking right at me. I'm looking right at you.
It won for best dance sequence for the disco dance off.
Dude, yes. That's amazing.
uh Beating out such classics as Bringing Down the House, which is like one we've talked about a lot. For
Oh
In
my
the Club,
God.
I guess they danced to 50 Cent song in the club at some point in Bringing Down the House. Along Came Polly for the hot salsa dance.
Oh my God. Dude, that's amazing.
Charlie's Angels Full Throttle for the burlesque review. It
Oh
looks
my
like all
God.
three of them did like a burlesque dance. And then finally, the movie I really can't believe that it lost. You Got Served for the big bounce. Like, I mean,
Oh
if
my
if
God.
you're You Got Served and you're not winning the MTV Movie Award for
For
best
best
dance
dance. Yeah, what are
sequence,
you even doing?
we've failed somewhere because that's yours for the taking.
We've failed as a society. Dude, I'm fucking crying right now.
But yeah, so it wins.
I
That's
can't
the
believe I
only
got that.
MTV Movie Award it's nominated for. Sean William Scott takes it home for the disco dance off.
Amazing.
Uh,
Absolutely amazing.
Notably, the guy who is like one half of the disco dance off, not mentioned at all. He gets
Oh,
no recognition
poor,
whatsoever. It's
poor
just
Mr.
the Sean William
Belvedere.
Scott parts that win the award.
God. I didn't know the MTV Movie Awards were so homophobic.
Yeah, and then of course our old standby, the Teen Choice Awards.
Classic.
It's nominated for like the Teen Choice for movie comedy.
Okay.
I feel like we've talked about a bunch of these already.
Probably
Let me
because
know
we've
if any
been
of these
we've
sound familiar.
we've been in this area for a while, the kind of like early to mid 2003. We've watched a lot of movies from this era so far, so it makes sense that it would continuously keep turning up in these awards.
Yeah, so rather than go through each thing, we'll just give like a quick nod to the nominations then, because I feel like we have talked about a lot of these.
Yeah,
2004, it's nominated for Choice Teen Comedy. It does not win. Sean William Scott is nominated for Choice Movie Actor in a Comedy.
of course.
Um, Allison Hannigan is nominated for Best Choice Movie Actress in a Comedy. Jason Biggs gets nominated for. This is one I'm pretty sure we did not bring up. So I'm going to try and find this.
Okay.
Jason Biggs is nominated for Choice Movie Hissy Fit.
What
Can you tell me what the hissy fit was in the movie?
do they tell you what it is?
I'm
Like you
trying to find the category right now,
Oh, okay. I was wondering
but
if they
I'm
show you
also
it.
trying to like think
What?
of off the top of my head what
Okay.
on earth it could
What
possibly be,
hissy
and
fit
nothing's coming to me.
did he throw? Was it when he like tells Stifler to fuck off? Like after Stifler has like ruined the cake and everything?
I guess
Or the
so.
flowers, not the cake. Jason Biggs ruined
Yeah,
the
I
cake.
guess that has to be
Flowers.
it. But it doesn't say
But I don't
what it's for here.
but
It
I
just
don't know if
says
that's
it's
so much a
fit.
hissy fit as it is like just being like, dude, you suck. Like,
Yeah, I wouldn't classify it as a hissy fit at all. By the way, 10 nominations in this category. What on earth?
what for best hissy fit?
Yeah, best
I
hissy
got
fit. There's 10 movies in
I gotta
here.
hear who else was nominated for best hissy fit.
Lindsay Lohan eventually wins for Freaky Friday, which fair. I'm sure that movie has at least one hissy fit in it, and I'm sure it's pretty good.
Yeah, okay.
Daniel Radcliffe is nominated for Prisoner of Azkaban, which they got me
Oh,
beat. I don't know.
oh boy. That was next
Jennifer
year. What?
Garner for 13 Going on 30.
Okay.
Ben Stiller in Along Came Polly.
Okay.
Ashton Kutcher for Cheaper by the Dozen.
Oh my God, dude.
Which does Ashton Kutcher play like a non-adult person in Cheaper by the Dozen? He's like a high school student, right?
No, he's an adult. He plays the scummy boyfriend of one of the kids, like the oldest daughter. I forget what her name is. Piper Perabo from Coyote Ugly.
Yeah.
She's like works and that's her boyfriend, and he comes over to like babysit the kids at times, and like they fucking hate him.
Yeah, it's so stupid. Um, and then let's see what else is on here. Rachel McAdams from Mean Girls,
Okay.
Mandy
What,
Moore from
dude?
Saved,
It's
or
so
Topher
funny.
Grace from How to Win a Date with Ted Hamilton.
Amazing. It's so funny that it's a mixture of like 2003 and 2004 movies. It's like what is the cutoff
I don't
for movies
know.
to be like? It makes
I would
zero
guess
sense.
sometime in the summer, but who the hell really
It would
knows?
have to be because Prisoner of Azkaban was in there, and that didn't come out till like June of '04.
Yeah.
So I guess like July maybe has to be the cutoff if they do it maybe in August or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, something like that, I suppose.
That is too funny. What a ridiculous freaking category. And see, that's what made me think of going with dance as the category when you asked me, because especially the MTV Movie Awards and the Teen Choice Awards always has these silly like categories.
Yeah, I mean, but like dance sequence isn't as silly as some of the ones we've seen, but
Yeah.
like it's not on the same level as Hissy
It's
Fit.
hissy fit. Yeah. Like who would be like, dude, you know what category we need? Best hissy fit. It's
Yeah,
like,
and
yeah,
then
dude, totally.
we've got one more here that I'm gonna really quickly control F because
Is
Sean
this
William Scott is nominated for another Teen Choice Award
okay for American Wedding or for something else?
for American Wedding.
Oh, okay.
Choice movie Blush.
What
What
the
the fuck
fuck?
does
What does
that
that even
mean? Like they
mean?
literally blush?
Yeah, right? Like what?
Beating out such contenders as Mary Kate and Ashley Olsen from New York Minute. No, he doesn't actually win, by the way. He
Oh,
also
okay.
loses.
Who's he
Lindsay
lose to?
Lohan wins for Mean Girls.
Oh, dude, she's sweeping.
Is it just literally like people putting blush on their face? Is
Yeah,
that what
I couldn't tell you.
when did Sean William Scott blush in this movie? I don't get it. Is it like a
Yeah,
stupid way to say best kiss? Like I'm so confused.
I don't know. Their categories make zero sense. I love they're sitting there like, dude, why don't they take our awards as seriously as the other ones? They're like, I got it, dude. Best
I mean,
blush.
I mean, we take their awards way more seriously than every other award ceremony, like by a lot.
Well, yeah, only here am I gonna get such great categories as best hissy fit.
But yeah, so no Teen Choice wins, and I mean that's really it for awards.
That sounds about right. Dude, could you
I
imagine if
guess
like the Oscars came out and they were like, we got a new category, baby, best hissy fit? I feel like,
wait,
dude,
I've done it again where I forgot to click the arrow down, so there
oh,
was more Teen Choice awards.
oh God. What other
uh,
hard things could they
see,
be in contention
and this
for?
is making the blush thing even more confusing because
Oh my God. Because now
2004
there's best
nominee
kiss.
for Choice Movie Lip Lock. That's got to be a kiss. That's
Why
Jason Biggs and Allison Hannigan.
why do they have to call it that? Like, why can't they just say
Because
best
calling it a
kid?
kiss is so boring, dude. You gotta give
They're
it
like,
you
we
gotta
gotta be hip, we gotta be in with the kids. What are kids saying these days? Lip lock? We're going with lip lock.
yeah, right. I have two more wins here though.
Oh, okay. So we're getting some all right, getting some wins. American
So
Wedding.
the Teen Choice Awards are undefeated, bro.
Here we go. What give me the next one?
Because it is the winner for the choice movie your parents didn't want you to see. So bad.
So fucking stupid.
Beating out such classics as Dawn of the Dead, Euro Trip, Freddy vs. Jason, The Girl Next Door, Kill Bill Volume 2. I'm pretty sure my parents took me to half of these movies. Like,
Dude,
like I'm
what a
almost convinced.
what a collection.
Scary Movie 3, and the
That's
Texas Chainsaw
that's
Massacre.
so funny. I mean, if a
And then
movie's
it's
rated PG-13, it can't be added to that list. Like, I'm sorry, get it out of
I
there.
like my parents didn't give a shit what movies I was seeing, dude. Like it's just such a
Yeah.
silly category.
Well, we were lucky back then that our parents let us see everything. Not everyone gets to be as fortunate. You get a lot of parents out there that are very protective of what their kids get to watch.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose that's good. That's good for them, I guess.
Bunch of
And then there's
losers.
one more win here.
I
There's one more
can't
win.
wait.
I'm just looking
Can't
at
wait
what
to
is
hear what
above
this one
this.
is,
Sean William Scott wins his second Teen Choice Award for the
dude.
Teen Choice Movie Sleaze Bag. He beats out Judy Greer from 13 Going on 30. Now hold on a second,
Get
because
out of
this
here.
is maybe I we made this point a couple of times when we were talking about the movie,
Yeah,
but talk about another perfect example of this, right? So Billy Bob Thornton from Bad Santa.
he
How
loses.
does Sean William Scott beat Billy Bob Thornton from Bad Santa for a movie sleazebag? He's
Yeah,
like the
right.
sleaziest guy in the history of movies.
He's hammered drunk, pretending to be Santa, cursing out kids in the mall.
He's not even cursing out kids in the mall. He's like having sex with women in like the dressing room at the mall. Like,
Oh, God. Yeah, dude, that's hilarious. God, the fucking Teen Choice Awards, baby. Because you know what it is American Wedding. It's political, baby. The American Wedding was the movie for the teens. Like Bad Santa, the teens didn't go see Bad Santa.
I'm starting to wonder if the Teen Choice Awards is more of like a marketing thing.
It's definitely a marketing thing. Absolutely. They're
But
like,
yeah,
listen, it's American Wedding. It's the third in the trilogy. It's due a win. It's a legacy win. All right.
that's what I'm saying. This is like it's Return of the King.
Yeah.
Like was Viggo Mortensen really the best actor that year? I don't know, but like he did that 3 times and they were all pretty great. Maybe we should just give him one, you know?
The legacy win, baby. Wow, so that's what that's like 3 or 4 wins for American Wedding right there.
Yeah, he had 3 wins,
Yeah, and
3 wins,
you said it
all
wasn't,
at the well,
and
two
you
at the Teen Choice Awards and then one at the
there we go,
MTV Movie Awards.
big one, and you had the audacity to say it wasn't any good.
It wasn't. It wasn't. And then we're gonna talk a little bit about. Let's start with Jason Biggs because
Okay,
there's
very.
like kind of an interesting run here in the late 90s that is worth mentioning, I
I would
think.
imagine he would have a very interesting career too, Jason Biggs.
Yeah. So it looks like he did like some soap opera work in the 90s.
Nice.
Uh I mean, this is when he's a kid. He's in like HBO storybook musicals as the little boy. He's he's in a movie in 1991 called The Boy Who Cried Bitch, but I've never heard of it and I think I need to go watch it. Like
What could that movie possibly? Oh, I'm looking at it right now, dude. The cover for that movie is fucking hilarious, dude. Adrian Brody is also in it.
Adrian Brody in 1991, how old is he?
I have no idea. All right. So the story focuses on Dan Love, a young boy with misdiagnosed medical conditions who slowly plunges the life of his mother, Candace, into unbridled chaos.
That sounds actually kind of amazing.
Yeah,
That sounds like
dude.
really funny.
Yeah, I'm in. I'm in on that. Yeah, Adrian Brody had to have also been like a child in this movie.
Yeah, I'm assuming because you know who else I just saw was in it? Jesse Bradford. They
And
probably just had three
he's
kids in it.
from what? The Bring It On, right?
From Clock Stoppers, I think is
Clock
what you
Stoppers.
meant. I
You're
think
right.
Clock
Such
Stoppers
classics
is what
like
you were
Clock
looking for.
Stoppers. I don't know what I was thinking. Going Bring It On.
No, and then so then Jason Biggs he does 7 episodes of As the World Turns in 1994 and 1995. Like there's some
Hmm.
other TV stuff here. 1999 is his first like real like breakout movie, I would say, like where he is Jim in American Pie.
Yeah, huge, big breakout role right there.
I am gonna give you. You're not looking at his IMDb, right?
No.
Okay. I want to see if you can guess what Jason Biggs is credited as in Detroit Rock City.
He's in Detroit Rock City.
Yeah. Oh no, actually he's not. He's uncredited. He's just here as guy in red tracksuit.
I was gonna say, I was like, I didn't even know he was in that. I watched that movie so many times, I didn't even realize he was in that.
Yeah, no, he is.
That's hilarious.
So then, all right, this is the movie I really want to talk about. Have you ever
Okay.
seen 2000's Loser?
A long, long time ago. Yes.
I believe it's like the same person who made Clueless, right?
Is it? Yeah, and isn't it? Uh, why did I feel like one of the people from American Pie was in it? Or
It's
maybe I was
from
wrong.
Mina
Savari?
Survari.
Oh no, that is not who I'm thinking of. She was not in American
She's
Pie.
from American Beauty, isn't she?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. She was the hot friend that Kevin Spacey fantasized about banging.
Yeah, and Dan Aykroyd's in it. Like he plays like the college kid's dad. Weird movie, like really weird movie.
Yeah, I remember watching it way back when, but I couldn't tell you a single thing about it other than the fact that he was in it.
Yeah, I mean, I saw it like not too long ago. He is a huge loser, and he's very weird, but somehow he makes it work, which is, I think, kind of like the point of
Interesting, interesting.
it. Um, then the real showstopper, Jason Biggs, 2001, Saving Silverman.
Oh, now there's a movie that's near and dear to our heart. I watched that movie so much. That movie is so funny.
Yeah, it's like a top, it's a top tier comedy as far as I'm
Yeah,
concerned.
yeah,
It's
that
like
movie is
Steve Zahn and Jack Black firing on all cylinders.
yeah, that movie is just is hilarious. I love that movie.
He plays himself in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. He does American Pie 2 in 2001. I guess I should bring that up.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
classic. That's the
and
best
then
one,
in
Jim. You gotta
2001, he also plays himself in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back.
no, there's that another there's a movie.
Yeah, I mean, he kind of just has like a supporting movie career for a while. Anything else? Have you
Which
ever
I
heard
mean
of that
isn't
movie?
isn't bad. There's nothing wrong with being a supporting character in a bunch of stuff. No, I've never heard of anything else. Let's see what is that? All
It
right, we
looks like
got
a Woody Allen movie.
of course. My God. All right, yeah, we got Biggs, you got Danny DeVito, Jimmy Fallon, Christina Ricci. That
Yeah,
movie
I don't think
sounds.
I've seen this one.
Yeah, nope, I have not seen that. That's for sure.
This might be worth a watch, honestly.
I don't know. I've never been big into Woody Allen movies.
I don't know. What was that one we watched? Annie Hall was pretty good. I think Annie Hall was the one we watched together.
Yeah, Annie Hall had its moments. I didn't mind that one. So.
Um, it looks like he has a small part in Jersey Girl. He does an episode of Frasier here. He's in an
Oh,
episode of Will and Grace.
okay.
Uh, Eight Below, Wedding
What?
Date.
It was an Eight Below.
Yeah, I guess so.
That's hilarious. That's the one.
Plays
That's
Charlotte Cooper. That's
the Paul
what's his
Walker
name?
one.
Oh, I thought that was the Cuba Gooding Jr.
No,
one, but now
not
I
yet.
remember
Not to
it's
be
called
confused
Snow
with Snow
Dogs.
Dogs.
I was thinking of Snow
The
Dogs.
competing Snow Dogs at Eight Below.
Yeah. Yeah,
Amazing.
so I don't know. I don't really want to talk much more about Jason Biggs. I do want to talk about the director here, though, for one more minute.
For American Wedding, we're talking Jesse Dillon, right? Was the
Jesse
guy?
Dillon,
Yeah, I
yeah.
don't
Because
think
there's,
interesting because I don't remember seeing anything other than this movie or ever hearing his name other than with this movie.
so I'm gonna start you back in. He does a bunch of music videos, which I'm not gonna
Okay.
get into all the music videos. But in
Okay.
2001, as far as I can tell, his directorial debut, How High, the Method Man and Redman movie.
Ooh, all right. Yep, that's a pretty good way to come out. That's right out the gate right there.
Yeah. Then 2003, he does American Wedding.
Okay.
There's a bunch of like American Wedding like outtakes stuff in here, like stupid shit like that.
All the stuff
And then
that's
in
the outrageous features.
2005, I am gonna guess what is gonna end up being our favorite movie of his, starring Will Ferrell. Do you want to tell me what it is?
Starring Will Ferrell. He does a Will Ferrell movie. One we've seen in theaters.
I believe we did, yeah.
Okay. It's got to be one of the random ones because all the big ones we know the directors.
Do,
Is it
do I want to give you a hint that will
no,
give
no,
it away?
no. I got this. I got this. I'm in the pocket right now. Um, the first one that comes to mind right out the gate that we saw in theaters that we loved is Kicking and Screaming.
Yeah, Kicking and Screaming. He's the director
Nice,
of Kicking and Screaming.
dude. Nah, dude, he did Kicking and Screaming.
Yeah, and I mean, it was
Classic.
worth talking about because that's like a three-movie run right there. How High, pretty great. American Wedding, real piece of shit. And Kicking and Screaming, pretty great.
Yeah, pretty
Like,
great. Top notch right there. Fucking Kicking and
and
Screaming.
then that's really the last. Kicking and Screaming might be his last like
Really?
feature-length movie. Yeah, like
They
I'm
didn't let him
looking
do
like he's
anything after
directed
that?
more music videos, some shorts, um,
Jesus.
some things that are just called video, and then in 2019 he directs a movie called Soros, which feels like
Never
a
heard.
big jump
Yeah,
from Kicking and
never heard
Screaming.
of that. That's not about George Soros, is it?
It's absolutely about George Soros. It's a documentary, I think.
Dude, what the fuck?
And
Hasn't been
it's
seen since '05. Kicking and Screaming comes out swinging with
2019. Let's
20.
see. Soros follows one of the most influential and controversial figures of our
Oh,
time as he fights
oh my
against the
God.
rising tide of authoritarianism around the world. Yeah, it's a documentary.
Dude,
And it looks like
what the
maybe
fuck?
like it's like in support of George Soros, question mark, I think. But
Yeah,
like I never would have guessed in a
yeah,
million years that that would be the
yeah.
next movie
That's
that
where he
pops
would
up.
end up. They're like, hey, did you hear what the director of American Wedding is doing these days?
Yeah, and George Soros stars in it, so I think it
Oh
is
my
like
God.
I have a feeling this is kind of like a pro George
It's like
Soros
him
thing. Like
following George Soros around is like he's
right,
taking
and
taking
being
on
like he's not so
authoritarianism.
bad. Like
Oh
maybe
my
if you guys
God.
meet the man, like you'll like get past the Alec Jones of it all.
Meet the man
Like,
behind the name.
that's so funny. So like now in my head, George Soros like is just like a big fan of Kicking and Screaming too.
Oh
And
yeah,
like,
right. And
so
he was like,
when he was like, "I'm gonna make a documentary," he's like, "You know who I need?"
get me
Like,
the guy who did Kicking and Screaming.
yeah, call up Jesse Dillon.
Because even a man like George Soros needs to unwind, and when he does, it's kicking and screaming. God damn it!
I can't, I can't even, dude. I have to go watch the George Soros documentary now.
Oh my God, that's crazy. Well, good for you, Jesse Dillon. Really making your way up into the big time with that. That
Yeah,
is
from filmmaker Jesse Dillon. Yeah, it's really great.
that is.
All right, and I think that's all I really have. I think that's all I
Yeah,
got
I,
for you.
I I don't think there's anywhere else you can go after you've driven into the George Soros documentary. The only place you
Yeah,
can really go
right.
from there is to your star
Like,
ratings.
well, actually, I have about 3 more hours of conspiracy theories centered around George Soros to go through now.
Oh
So
my
now that
God.
I've trapped you,
Yeah, now that you're stuck in here, that's absolutely out of control. But all right, let's turn our attention over to our star ratings. I'm assuming we will not be getting the Roger Ebert drop today, knowing you.
yeah, no, I've never wanted to click a button less in my entire life.
Well, Jim, to disappoint you, I do have to note Roger Ebert's rating here for the movie. Roger Ebert gave American Wedding 3 out of 4 stars.
Hey, man, everybody's wrong sometimes, you know?
He wrote that the movie is proof of the hypothesis that no genre is beyond redemption.
Wow, this is the movie that redeemed American Pie to Roger Ebert. Okay, Raj.
This movie brought the sex teen comedy back from the brink for Raj.
Yeah, yeah. He's like, I was getting a little bored of those teen sex comedies when they were all about teens and sex, but now they're about good old-fashioned straight white couples getting married.
Traditionalism,
Like,
traditional marriage. I'm back in.
yeah. It's making this thing official, God damn it. Like,
Oh my God, that's amazing. All right, Jim, I'll turn it over to you then. Final ratings, final thoughts. American Wedding.
I don't know. What's the lowest we're allowed to give again?
Oh my God.
Have we
Well,
ever
we
come
said,
to like a conclusion on that?
well, we said that. Did we say? I guess we can give a 0 if you're really feeling that particular about it. But I think we went like no one's done a 0.5 yet. I think the lowest any of us.
I will give it a 0.5. I will save the 0. But this is like
Oh my God, a
this might
point
be a
five.
regret that I have where I
Jim,
wish I could have like I look back on this and wish I gave it a 0 cuz like as I'm talking about it, I'm not really sure what I'm saving the 0 for. You know what I
jeez.
mean? But I'm giving this a 0.5 stars. Yeah,
For
it's
some,
stupid. It shouldn't exist.
that's crazy. Jim gave Dumb and Dumberer When Harry Met Lloyd a 1.5. American
Like if I
Wedding.
was reading if I was giving out awards, this movie would win the most likely to get me to try and build a time machine so I can stop it from ever happening award. Like
Jeez. Tell me how you really feel. Jim really bringing it down to the bottom of the barrel there. All right, that's a point five. That's I mean, listen, if you want to have my grandmother rolling over in her grave harder, that's your move, Jim. That's all right. I won't
yeah,
hold it
I'll tell
against
you what, the movie was worse. I'm just saying. You could All right, maybe not. That might have been mean, but
you.
I don't know.
My word. My word. All right. I will not be going into as bottom of the barrel as you there, Jim. I'm going to give this movie a 2 star right there. It painfully derivative, very childish, but there are moments that make me laugh. And I don't think it is as worse as some of the other movies that we've had to sit through here. I think it's insane that you'd go point 0.5 over Dumb and that say this movie is worse than Dumb and Dumber When Harry Met Lloyd. That just
It's
seems outrageous to
it's
me.
so much worse than that
But
movie.
to each their
So
own.
much worse.
So I'm giving it a two. So the 2 from me and a 0.5 from Jimbo. Gonna give us an overall score of 2.5. And now we're gonna have to do some battles here with this 2.5. And honestly, I think we're going to be coming to a take it or leave it spot right here because we're gonna be railroading each other because the first 2.5 it must do battle with is Dumb and Dumber When Harry Met Lloyd.
I'm thinking Dumb and Dumber, dude. It's not even
Ab-
close.
absolute No, absolutely not. Me
There's
and my grandma will fight you tooth and nail on that one.
Yeah, well, I got bad news. Based on the story you told me before, I think I got the advantage. I'm just saying. but, but it's like they're both
There's
stupid. Don't get me wrong, but like Dumb and Dumberer like really understands how stupid it is, whereas American Pie is like walking this weird line where it's trying to be a stupid movie, but it's also like for that lady who wrote the 10-star review, who's like, it's like watching my kids get married, like which makes it makes me want to puke, dude.
yeah, but my comment to that is that Dumb and Dumberer. Well, yes, American Wedding is all of what you just said. American Wedding is at least watchable. Dumb and Dumberer, all these, it might know what it is, but that doesn't excuse the absolute like horrificness of so much of the just stupidity that you have to get through in Dumb and Dumberer. Like I think how quickly you forget some of the atrociousness that you have to suffer through in the 95 minutes of Dumb and Dumberer.
I would rather
And
watch Dumb and Dumber 10 times in a row than ever put this
you
movie on.
you absolutely this is recency bias. I can tell you that right
Dude,
now.
we watched we
You
watched
walked
both
right
of
off
them
the
like in
set
the
of
last
American
couple of
Wedding.
weeks.
Absolute recency bias. But we'll have to agree to disagree because that battle is going to keep them, I guess, neck and neck with each other then in the 51 position. Wherever you're going to line it, whether you're out there at home and you take Dumb and Dumber or you take American Wedding, they're both sitting in the bottom 5 of the movies that we've done so far. So they're rounding out with each other in the number 51 spot behind Eight Crazy Nights, but just ahead of Kangaroo Jack. And so that's where that battle will lie for now. But it's all bottom 5, Jim. So there, so you got it's all terrible for you. All right.
Yeah.
You
It's
can
Dumb and Dumber is way better
you can rest
though.
easy knowing that it's all trash for you to sit in.
I don't know,
But
I'm really heated today about that one movie in particular. I don't
you
know.
are you're very like I said, bro, you walked right off the set of American Wedding right into the studio here and you had a bone to pick, man. You were sitting pretty. It's all fresh in your
Oh,
mind. The wound is fresh. You're still bleeding out. It's I get it. I understand.
Yeah, all I can say is we're all very lucky that Jesse Dillon went home and like licked his wounds and then rose from the ashes of American Wedding to give us Kicking and Screaming.
Yeah, yeah. Now, Jim, if he didn't have this movie come out and be maligned in that way, would he have come back with such a hitter and Kicking and Screaming? If
I
anything,
don't
you
know.
should be
That's a good
thanking this
question.
movie for giving you Kicking and Screaming, and then eventually the George Soros documentary.
He's like the Seabiscuit of directors.
Yeah, you've gotten so much out of this. Uh,
Seabiscuit saved America. Like that's why I watched Seabiscuit and Seabiscuit saved America, and then this week all I could think was like, should he have though? Like, like
like maybe
maybe
we
we
should have
do
left it at
deserve to
that.
be saved. Like,
If you could go back in time and tell Seabiscuit what you knew now, would you make him take a
yeah,
dive?
right. If you could show Seabiscuit American Wedding, do you think he would just like break his leg on purpose? Like,
Uh, oh my god. So he's
even
weird. So
Seabiscuit never gives up. But if you watched American Wedding, I
he
don't know,
might he might
maybe.
have to. He just packs it in and heads back out into the wilderness. It's like, guys, we're done here. Give it to the war machine because I don't got it
Yeah,
anymore.
right. Seriously. Seabiscuit's like, War Admiral, he's better than us in every way. Let's just let him win. Maybe if we keep the gatekeepers, there won't be any American wedding someday.
Oh my
By
god.
the way, I don't have any recommendations this week, but this is something I've learned since our Seabiscuit episode.
Okay.
War Admiral was Seabiscuit's uncle.
What?
Yeah, like his Seabiscuit's grandfather was War Admiral's dad. It was like that big, like,
Dude,
champion horse that they talked about in the beginning of Seabiscuit.
why didn't they play that up in the movie, man?
That's what I'm saying.
I would
Like,
have been so in if they were like, dude, this guy's his uncle. I'd be like, yo, you gotta trounce
right.
your uncle, bro.
The real 5-star movie is an animated Disney movie where like it's like the guy's like shitty uncle is just talking shit on him the whole time because he's like a low down, like no good, like he never lived up to the family name, and then he's like, "I'll show you, Uncle War Admiral." Like,
He's like, four admirals are just absolute stock specimens. He's like, you're just a runt of the litter.
yeah,
You,
exactly.
you
Like
be a runt, you'll always be a runt, and not
that's
even
the
your
real
fleas
movie.
will mourn you. Now there's your movie. Man, I really wish they played that up. What a shame.
Yeah, Man o' War was like the big racehorse, and War Admiral was his kid, and then like
Man,
he
we
was
used
like the granddad of Seabiscuit.
we used to know how to name things, man. Man of War, War Admiral,
Yeah, even the name
Seabiscuit.
is like they're like it's like in the Disney movie he doesn't earn to have war in his name. Like they're like,
Yeah,
no man, your name's just
Seabiscuit.
Seabiscuit.
Finally
Like,
beats his uncle, and they're like, "What's your name?" War Seabiscuit.
yeah, he's a real war horse.
He gets he becomes Warhorse. Oh man.
All
Dude,
right, what about you? Do you have any recommendations?
now we got a movie. I do have a recommendation. I just went recently and saw in theaters the movie Anora, which is a indie movie right now that's getting a lot of buzz as the front runner to win Best Picture this year.
Oh,
Is a movie about a stripper who gets involved with the son of like a Russian oligarch or like it's a dude from Russia who has a shitload of money.
oh yeah, I think I've seen like a commercial for this, like a
Yeah.
trailer for it.
Yeah. So she gets involved with the kid. They go off on this huge liaison that ends with the two of them getting married. And the Russian parents are not happy about it. And they're coming to like put a stop to it. And it's about like this girl's like Cinderella dream to have all these things and, you know, make it big and have all this money. It's so freaking good. I went in knowing very little about it. All I knew was that she gets involved with a Russian kid and that they end up getting married. That was all I knew about the movie. And I'm so glad that I went in not knowing much because this movie was so good.
Yeah,
And it was surprisingly really funny. I did not expect this movie to be as funny as I thought it would be. The middle half of
really.
this movie is so goddamn good. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's got to be funny. It's got what's his name? John Ralphio from Parks and Rec plays the main character,
You're
right?
sorry, you're an idiot. He does look like him, though. That is
He
really
looks
funny.
exactly like him. I
Exactly
know it's
like
not
him.
actually him, but that's how I remember the trailer.
But
It's like, oh my god, he looks just like John
yeah, John
Ralphio.
Ralphio. That's be suspicious. Don't be suspicious. But yeah, so that's my recommendation. Really great movie. I can see why it's a front runner right now. Is a very entertaining movie. And I
It's
hope,
iCarly's in that one too,
dude,
right?
you gotta stop. We're done
I
with
mean,
you.
like, of course it's funny, dude. When you put
You're done.
Miranda
You're
Cosgrove
done.
as
That's
John
it. Go
Ralphio
back.
from
You
Parks
keep
and
it up. I'm
Rec.
gonna make you watch American Wedding again. But yeah, great movie. So that's my recommendation to go out. Now we look towards next week, Jim, and you actually didn't come up with it in the box office or anything. So we have a chance to guess here, for you to take a guess at next week's movie. And my only hint that I will give you is that we're sticking with your favorite. This will be another Sean William Scott movie.
I think it's gonna be that one with The Rock, because that's the only other movie I remember him being in.
You
The
would,
the what's it called? Like The Rundown, right?
yep. Oh yeah, you would be correct. We are now going into the rundown, which some would signal as the start of The Rock's meteoric rise into taking over Hollywood.
It's no, I would say Be Cool is the start. I think he comes off so good in Be Cool, which I'm pretty sure is before The Rundown, right?
No, no, Be Cool's after the rundown.
Really?
Yeah, we saw Be Cool in theaters. I think Be Cool was like '05, I want to say.
No way.
Yeah, yeah. Well, actually, we're both wrong because we didn't even mention the Scorpion King, which came out way before
Oh yeah, that's
Rundown.
right. We played The Rock's first lines in a previous
We
episode. That's
did, we
right. How
did.
can we forget?
That's where he really got his meteoric
Machete.
rise. The Shundai, the Shundai. But yeah, I'm pretty sure Be Cool was '05. But this whole area really, the early 2000s is where he's going to really start to hone in on that craft and make his plunge into being one of the biggest Hollywood superstars of the modern era. And
Yeah, for
for good
sure.
or worse, I'll leave that up to the people at home.
Yeah,
Seems
I
like
guess,
seems like
yeah.
right now it might be a bit for the worse, for anyone out there that has made it, or did anyone out there go see Red One? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, just like really quick, like he explains, I think, why The Scorpion King is like his first movie, like really well. It's like from where The Rock jumps off
Is a
from.
movie based on the character of the Scorpion. The Scorpion King is a movie based on the character of the Scorpion King.
And I just think the way he understands like the character of the Scorpion King is just it shows why he gets to where he gets to. So the rundown is not really like his
Yeah.
jumping off point. He was a freight train that was coming no matter what you did.
From the get-go, he just had a complete understanding of character, man. Like
Yeah.
you couldn't break down a character any better than The Rock could.
Yeah. I saw Red One. It wasn't bad. I don't understand how they spent $250. Like who signed off on that?
You said
Like
$250.
250 million, sorry.
Yeah, no, and I mean, very insane in that movie, but it seems to be a running theme in a lot of movies these days that we're just going to spend $250 million on a movie and hope for the
Yeah.
best.
Like it
It
was a
seems
lot of
insane.
fun, but there's no way that movie was ever making its money
Yeah.
back, right?
I don't know if there's any Christmas movie ever made that needs to be made for $250 million. It's absolutely absurd.
Yeah. I mean, when it's got shapeshifters and Krampus has like a whole castle, I mean, I don't know.
Dude, out of control, out of control. Did you last tidbit before we sign off here, pertaining, to Red One, since you saw it? Did you see there was an interview with The Rock where he was talking about seeing Oppenheimer in IMAX with Christopher Nolan, and he was watching it and went, "My God, if we use this kind of technology for Red One, it would be game over."
No, he didn't.
Yeah, swear to God,
We're
that came out like a week ago before the movie came out, them talking about it. And then Red One opened to $32 million.
But that was it, Oppenheimer was the first time that The Rock said, you know what, if we did an action movie for IMAX, that might be a good idea.
It was like,
Like,
dude, where were you for like Top Gun Maverick or like any Avatar movie or like any other movie they put out on IMAX? Like, As
Yeah,
no one
I mean, I
explained.
saw it. I saw it in Dolby. It had like the shaky seats. Is that
Yeah.
like a Dolby thing? Like the seats shaking?
I don't know, dude. They have so many different formats these days. I can't keep track of all of
It
them.
felt
Like,
like at some points it felt like I was on like that old like Back to the Future ride they used to
yeah, it
have.
just like
Like it felt like
shakes
I
you
was on that.
uncontrollably. Yeah, dude, they
Yeah.
they put so many bells and whistles on everything these days to try and get you in. Like somebody was trying to convince me to go to the 4DX for Twisters, where like your seats actually like move around and shake and they like spray you with water and shit. And it was
Oh
like,
my God.
why?
And
Like,
then
I
a
just want to watch a
tornado rips off
movie.
the top of the movie
Yeah,
theater.
right. Like, like I'm not going to Disney World, man. I just want to sit and watch a movie. Like, I get shot in the face while I'm eating popcorn. Like,
Yeah. It's like I won't get out of bed unless a movie is like the volcano ride at Universal Studios. Like,
they just start
or was it
spewing magma.
Earthquake?
Yeah,
Did you ever
yeah,
go on
earthquake.
Earthquake when you were a
Yeah,
kid?
yeah. It's like it's absurd. They're doing too much. It's like I just want to sit, like just make the picture look good and make the sound look good and the seat comfortable. That's all I fucking need. Like I don't
I
need
mean,
anything else.
to be fair though, it was game over for Red One.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was 32 million opening, and now it has to go up against three huge movies for Thanksgiving weekend. So going to be very interesting to see if that movie can hold on and get some legs and make actually a decent amount of money to recoup that budget. But it doesn't look good. And that's all we got to say about all that. So yeah, go out check Nora if you haven't seen it. Make sure you dive in. Got to be on top of your best picture winners right there. And then make sure to join us here next week when we dive into another Sean William Scott classic in The Rundown. And as always, we'll see you at the movies.